They never tell you about the moment a war is lost, not the battles that come after, not the casualties that pile up like autumn leaves, not the cities that burn or the ships that sink beneath cold waves. The moment a war is lost happens long before the first shot is fired. It happens in a meeting room where wise men speak truth and proud men refuse to listen. It happens when prophecy meets arrogance and arrogance wins. December 8th, 1941, 400 miles north of Pearl Harbor. The sun has not yet risen, but smoke already darkens the eastern sky. The Imperial Japanese Navy flagship Yamato cuts through Pacific waters, its massive hull throwing white foam across the pre-dawn darkness. On the bridge, officers stand at attention. Maps spread across tables show the Hawaiian Islands circled in red. Radio reports crackle with updates. Victory, overwhelming victory. The Americans caught sleeping. Admiral Takeshi Yamada stands alone on the observation deck one level above the bridge. 58 years old, gray at the temples. Eyes that have seen too much and understood more than anyone wanted him to. He watches his pilots return from Pearl Harbor. Their aircraft circle the carrier task force like triumphant eagles. One by one they land on the carrier decks, pilots climbing out with fists raised, shouting banzai, celebrating the strike that has crippled the American Pacific Fleet. Below him, young officers erupt in cheers. Someone breaks out sake. Another man waves a Japanese flag. They believe this is the beginning of the end, that America will negotiate now, that the war everyone feared will be over before summer. Yamada does not celebrate. He holds a casualty report in his left hand. His right hand grips the railing so tightly his knuckles have gone white. The report lists American ships damaged and destroyed. 8 battleships, 3 cruisers, multiple destroyers and auxiliary vessels. Impressive, devastating, exactly as planned. But there is one line in the report that makes his chest tighten with something close to panic. Under the category American carriers, sunk, someone has written a single number. 0. The carriers survived. Either by luck or by providence, the 3 American aircraft carriers assigned to Pearl Harbor were at sea when the attack came. They are out there somewhere in the vast Pacific, hunting, waiting, and Yamada knows with absolute certainty what that means. He whispers to himself in English, perfect English, the kind of English that only comes from living among Americans, the kind that carries just the slightest trace of a Boston accent, softening his R's, broadening his A's. God help us. We just made the same mistake they made in 1776. His aide, Lieutenant Commander Koji Watanabe, approaches from behind. Young, eager, still intoxicated by the morning's success. He does not yet understand what they have truly done. Sir, the pilots report complete surprise. The Americans never saw us coming. Admiral Nagumo sends his congratulations. Tokyo will be celebrating by now. Yamada does not turn around. He continues staring at the horizon where the sun is beginning to paint the clouds in shades of orange and gold. Beautiful, really. The kind of sunrise poets write about. The kind that makes you believe the world might be good. Tell me, Watanabe, what happened in 1776? The aide hesitates, confused by the question. Sir, I do not understand. In 1776, what did the British do? Another pause. Then tentatively, Watanabe answers. The American Revolutionary War, sir. The British fought the American colonies. Yes. And who won America, sir? Exactly. Do you know why the British lost? Watanabe shifts uncomfortably. He senses this is not a casual history lesson. Superior American tactics, sir. Or perhaps terrain advantages. Yamada finally turns to face his aide. His expression is not angry. It is something far more frightening. It is the expression of a man who has seen the future and cannot prevent it. No, Watanabe. The British lost because they underestimated the Americans. They thought the colonists were weak, disorganized. They thought one decisive blow would bring them to the negotiating table. Instead, that blow united them, made them stronger, gave them something to fight for. He holds up the casualty report. We just did the same thing. We woke them up, and now they will not stop until Tokyo is ashes. But sir, we destroyed 8 battleships. Battleships are the past, Watanabe. Carriers are the future. And the American carriers survived. They are out there right now, and the man commanding them is already planning how to strike back. Yamada walks past his aide toward the ladder leading down to the bridge. As he descends, he mutters something too quiet for anyone else to hear. But if they could hear, if they understood English the way Yamada does, they would hear 6 words that contain everything he knows about what is coming. You cannot defeat people who believe kindness is strength. To understand why Admiral Takeshi Yamada spoke those words, you have to go back 22 years. Back to a time when he was young and the world seemed full of possibility. Back to a cold September morning in Cambridge, Massachusetts, when a Japanese naval officer walked into an American dining hall and learned something that would haunt him for the rest of his life. September 1919, Harvard University. The war to end all wars has just ended. American soldiers are coming home from Europe. The campus is full of young men who survived trenches and gas attacks and now want nothing more than to build futures instead of digging graves. Lieutenant Takeshi Yamada, 27 years old, newly assigned to Harvard for petroleum engineering studies, walks across Harvard Yard on his first morning. He wears his Imperial Navy uniform because it is all he has. Dark blue wool with gold buttons. Sword at his side. The uniform draws stares, some curious, some hostile. Japan and America were on opposite sides in China. Old tensions simmer beneath polite academic surfaces. Yamada enters the dining hall. The smell hits him first. Bacon, eggs, toast, coffee. Smells he has never experienced. In Japan, breakfast means rice and miso soup and fish. Here, breakfast smells like something rich and forbidden and impossibly abundant. He stands in the doorway uncertain. The hall's packed with American students, hundreds of them, laughing, talking, eating mountains of food. He is the only Asian in the room, the only one in uniform, the only one who does not belong. For a moment, he considers leaving, going back to his dormitory room, eating alone, avoiding the stares and the whispers and the possibility of confrontation. Then someone waves at him from across the room. "Hey, you're the Japanese Navy guy, right? Come sit with us." The voice belongs to a tall young man with sandy blonde hair and a face that is all Midwestern openness. He is wearing dungarees and a flannel shirt, farm clothes, not the prep school elegance of most Harvard students. Yamada hesitates. Then, because he has been taught that a naval officer does not show fear, he walks toward the voice. The young man stands as Yamada approaches, extends his hand. "I'm Tommy Henderson, Kansas, just got here last week. They tell me you're here to study petroleum engineering." "That right?" Yamada shakes his hand. "Yes, I am Lieutenant Yamada, Imperial Japanese Navy." Tommy grins. "Well, Lieutenant, in America, we don't stand on ceremony at breakfast. Just Yamada is fine. Or Tak. Can I call you Tak?" No one has ever called him Tak. In Japan, informality with superiors is unthinkable. But this is America. Different rules, different world. Yes, Tak is acceptable. Great. "Sit down, Tak. Let me introduce you to the boys." Tommy introduces him to 5 other students crowded around the table. There is Charlie from Boston studying medicine, Frank from Philadelphia studying law, Robert from Virginia studying history, James from Ohio studying engineering, like Tommy, and Samuel from New York studying economics. None of them are wealthy. All of them are here on scholarships or family savings, the sons of shopkeepers and farmers and factory workers. The new America rising from the ashes of the old. They make space for Yamada. Someone hands him a plate. Tommy slides a tray toward him, piled high with scrambled eggs, bacon, hash browns, and toast. "You gotta try American bacon, Tak. Changed my life when I left Kansas." Yamada looks at the bacon. 6 thick strips, more meat than he would normally eat in a week. The smell is intoxicating, salty, smoky, rich. He picks up a piece, tastes it. The flavor explodes across his tongue. Fat and salt and smoke and something else. Something he cannot quite name. Abundance, maybe. The taste of a country that has so much it can afford to feed even students like kings. Tommy watches his reaction and laughs. "Good right. That's freedom you're tasting, friend. In America, even poor folks like me eat bacon for breakfast. My old man's a wheat farmer. We're not rich, but we eat like we are." Yamada chews slowly, swallows, looks at the mountains of food covering the table. In Japan, there is always enough to eat, but never this much. Never this wasteful and wonderful and overwhelming. "In Japan, we do not have this," he says quietly. What bacon? Charlie from Boston looks shocked. No bacon. What do you eat for breakfast? Rice, soup, fish for breakfast. Frank from Philadelphia makes a face. That's rough, friend. They all laugh. Not cruel laughter, just the easy mockery of young men who have never known hunger. Yamada finds himself smiling, then laughing, then reaching for another piece of bacon. Over the next 2 years, Yamada eats breakfast with Tommy and his friends every single morning. They argue about politics, about baseball, which Yamada does not understand at all, about engineering and the future of petroleum, and whether Ford or Chevrolet makes better automobiles. They tease him about his English. He teases them about their complete ignorance of world geography. When someone asks where Japan is, Robert from Virginia points at China on the map. Yamada corrects him. They all laugh, including Yamada. One morning in October, Tommy asks him about Japan's military ambitions in China. The question is direct, almost confrontational, the kind of question that could start a fight. Yamada considers lying, considers offering the official line about Japan's civilizing mission in Asia. But these are his friends. They share bacon with him every morning. They treat him not as an enemy, but as one of them. My government says we are bringing order to China, he says carefully. But I think we are bringing something else, something darker. Tommy nods slowly. My old man fought in the Philippines in 1898, Spanish-American War. He came home and told my mother that empires are expensive, that conquering people costs more than it's worth, that America should mind its own business. Did your government listen? Tommy laughs. Talk governments never listen. That's why we vote them out when they get stupid. Yamada thinks about this. In Japan, you do not vote out the government. You obey, you serve, you do not question. That night, he writes in his diary, it is something he will continue for the rest of his life. A careful record in Japanese characters, his private thoughts, his fears, his observations. October 15th, 1919. Today I understood something dangerous. Americans believe they are free, not as a slogan, not as propaganda. They truly believe it. They argue with each other. They question their government and their government. They laugh at their leaders, and somehow this makes them stronger, not weaker. If Japan ever goes to war with America, we are not fighting an army. We are fighting an idea, and ideas are harder to kill than soldiers. Yamada does not just study petroleum engineering at Harvard. He studies America. He travels every chance he gets. Boston, New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Chicago. He takes trains across the country and stares out windows at the endless farmland, the massive factories, the cities that seem to grow larger every year. In Detroit, he visits Ford's Highland Park factory. The assembly line mesmerizes him. He stands for 3 hours watching Model T automobiles roll off the line, one every minute, 60 cars every hour, over 1,000 cars every single day from this one factory alone. He calculates in his head, America produces 2 million automobiles per year. Japan produces maybe 300. This is not a gap, he thinks. This is an abyss. In Pittsburgh, he tours a steel mill. The Homestead Works. Someone from the company gives him a hard hat and safety glasses and leads him onto the floor. The heat is incredible. Blast furnaces rage like trapped volcanoes. Molten steel pours in glowing rivers. The noise is deafening. The scale is unimaginable. He learns that this single facility produces 2 million tons of steel per year. Japan's entire steel production is 7 million tons. America has 40 facilities like this. He takes notes, makes sketches, writes reports that he will send back to Tokyo. Reports that say in the most diplomatic language possible, do not go to war with this country. We will lose. But it is not the factories that change him most. It is the small moments. The human moments, the moments that reveal what America truly is beneath all the steel and concrete and industrial might. Summer of 1920, Tommy Henderson invites Yamada to Kansas, to the family farm, to meet his parents and see where Tommy grew up. Yamada accepts curious. He has never seen an American farm. They take the train from Boston to Kansas City, then another smaller train to a town called Newton. Then Tommy's father picks them up in a Ford truck that has seen better days. They drive 30 minutes down dirt roads through wheat fields that stretch to the horizon. The Henderson farm is modest, 200 acres, a white farmhouse with a porch, a red barn, chickens scratching in the yard, a few cows grazing in a pasture. Not wealthy, not poor, solidly middle class in a way that does not exist in Japan. Tommy's father meets them at the front door. Tall like his son, weathered face, calloused hands. He wears overalls and work boots. When he sees Yamada in his civilian clothes, he pauses, then extends his hand. My son says, "You're top of your class at Harvard. That's good enough for me." "Welcome to Kansas, son." Yamada shakes his hand, surprised by the grip. This man is strong, not military strong, farm strong, the kind of strength that comes from decades of hard work. Tommy's mother appears behind them, short, round, smiling. She wipes flour from her hands on her apron and hugs Yamada like he is one of her own children. "We're so glad to have you," she says. "Tommy's told us all about you in his letters. Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready. The house smells like home cooking. Roasted chicken, fresh bread, something sweet baking in the oven." Yamada realizes he is starving. They sit at a large wooden table in the kitchen. Tommy's father says grace. Then they eat. The meal is extraordinary. Fried chicken with crispy golden skin, mashed potatoes swimming in butter and gravy, corn on the cob, so sweet it tastes like candy, green beans cooked with bacon, fresh baked rolls, and for dessert, apple pie with vanilla ice cream. Yamada eats until he thinks he might burst. Tommy's mother keeps refilling his plate. Every time he finishes, something more appears. She watches him eat with satisfaction, the way grandmothers everywhere watch young men eat. After dinner, they sit on the porch. The sun sets over wheat fields that glow golden in the fading light. Tommy's father smokes a pipe. Tommy drinks lemonade. Yamada sips coffee that is stronger and better than anything he has tasted in Japan. Tommy's father notices Yamada's expression. "Something wrong with the meal, no, sir. It was wonderful. It is just this is a farm, yes, but you eat like royalty." Tommy's father laughs. "Not royalty, son, just free Americans. We work hard. We own our land. We answer to nobody but ourselves. And yes, we eat well. That's the point of all this." He gestures at the fields. "Freedom means we keep what we earn. And we earned a good meal tonight." Yamada thinks about Japanese farmers, their small plots of land, the taxes they pay to landlords, the hunger that visits rural villages every few years when rice harvests fail. Japanese farmers work just as hard as American farmers. Harder, maybe. But they do not eat like this. They do not own like this. They are not free like this. That night, alone in the guest bedroom, Yamada writes another diary entry. This one will be found by American occupation forces in 1945. It will be translated and filed away and eventually declassified. Historians will point to it as evidence of what Yamada truly believed. June 19th, 1920. Tonight I ate dinner with an American farm family. They are not wealthy, they are not powerful, but they live better than Japanese nobles. They own their land, they keep their harvests. They fear no landlord or tax collector, and they believe this is normal. They believe all people should live this way. I have seen America's factories. I have counted her ships. I have measured her steel production and calculated her industrial capacity. The numbers are terrifying. Japan cannot match them. But today I understood something more dangerous than numbers. Americans believe they are free, and free men fight differently than subjects of an emperor. If Japan goes to war with America, we are not fighting a military. We are fighting a belief system. We are fighting people who think bacon for breakfast is a birthright, who think owning a farm makes you equal to a king, who think questioning authority is a duty, not a crime. This is not a war Japan can win, not with tactics, not with superior training, not with samurai spirit, because you cannot defeat people who believe that kindness and abundance and freedom are what life should be. I will write my report when I return to Japan. I will tell them everything I have learned. I will beg them not to pursue conflict with this nation. I do not think they will listen. September 1921. Yamada returns to Japan. He submits his report to the Naval Ministry. 200 pages. Detailed analysis of American industrial capacity, steel production, in automobile manufacturing, petroleum reserves, shipbuilding capacity, The report concludes with a single recommendation written in the most formal Japanese possible. Under no circumstances should the Empire of Japan engage in military conflict with the United States of America. Such a conflict would result in the complete destruction of Japanese military power and potentially the occupation of the home islands. The report is filed, acknowledged, ignored. The years pass. Yamada rises through naval ranks. His warnings go unheard. In Tokyo, a different voice grows louder. General Kenji Ishida, Army hardliner, a man who believes that will and spirit can overcome industrial capacity, that Japan's warrior traditions make them superior to soft, decadent Americans. That one decisive blow will bring the United States to its knees. December 1940. Yamada, now a rear admiral, stands before the Naval General Staff in Tokyo. Outside, snow falls on the Imperial Palace. Inside, maps cover every wall. China, Southeast Asia, the Pacific. Red circles mark targets. Blue arrows show invasion routes. The room smells like cigarette smoke and ambition. Yamada presents his assessment. His voice is calm, measured, professional. Gentlemen, I have studied the United States for 2 years. I lived among them, ate with them, studied their factories and farms. If we initiate conflict with America, we will achieve initial victories. Perhaps 6 months of success, perhaps 1 year. After that, American industrial production will overwhelm us. They will build ships faster than we can sink them, aircraft faster than we can shoot them down, weapons faster than we can use them. General Ishida rises from his seat. His face is red. His voice shakes with barely controlled anger. The admiral has become too American. He speaks of their factories and forgets our spirit. Americans are soft. They love comfort more than honor. They will not endure sacrifice. One strong blow, and they will negotiate. Yamada meets his eyes. I have seen their spirit, General. I have broken bread with farmers who own hundreds of acres, with students who argue with their professors, with veterans who question their government. They are not soft. They are confident. There is a difference. Ishida slams his hand on the table. Perhaps the admiral should have stayed in America since he loves it so much. The room goes silent. Everyone understands what Ishida has just implied. Disloyalty, treason, accusations that can end careers or lives. Yamada's voice does not change. It remains calm, but there is steel beneath the calm now. My loyalty is to the Emperor, not to your pride, General. I will serve Japan in whatever capacity is required. But I will not lie about what I know. America is not weak, and attacking them will destroy us. The meeting ends badly. Afterward, Lieutenant Commander Watanabe finds Yamada in his office. Sir General Ishida has influence with radical groups. There are rumors. Men who speak too kindly of America sometimes have accidents. Yamada packs his briefcase. Then I will remain aboard the Yamato. I can serve Japan better alive than dead. That night, he writes to his wife, Akiko. The letter is careful. Censors read everything. But between the formal phrases, his fear bleeds through. My dear Akiko, events move toward conclusions I cannot prevent. The voices calling for war grow louder, while those counseling caution grow quieter. I fear we are sleepwalking toward catastrophe. But a naval officer's duty is to serve, not to question. I will do what is asked of me. Please know that whatever comes, my love for you and our children never wavers. He does not mail the letter immediately. He keeps it in his desk drawer, adding to it, night after night, a record of watching his country march toward disaster. April 17, 1942, 650 miles east of Tokyo. The USS Hornet cuts through heavy seas. Waves crash over the bow. Salt spray coats the flight deck. On that deck, lined up like impossible dreams, sit 16 B-25 Mitchell bombers, land-based aircraft, medium bombers that have no business being on a carrier. Major Jack Morrison stands beside his bomber at dawn. 32 years old, from Akron, Ohio, son of a Goodyear factory worker, self-taught engineer who learned to fly by reading library books and saving money for lessons at a local airfield. Too old for combat flying, the younger pilots say. But when volunteers were called for an extremely hazardous mission, Jack stepped forward first. The mission briefing was 3 days ago. Lieutenant Colonel Frank Davis, lean and serious, stood before 80 volunteer pilots and crew. Gentlemen, you will launch from this carrier. You will strike Tokyo and other Japanese cities. You will continue west to China. We cannot recover you. The carrier will be too far away. You will either reach Chinese airfields or you will not. Someone asked the obvious question, what are our chances of survival? Sir Davis paused, then answered honestly, unknown. This has never been attempted. B-25s require 1,200 feet for takeoff. This deck is 467 feet. You will launch with full bomb loads. Fuel tanks filled to maximum. If you hit the water, there will be no rescue. The room was silent. Then Jack Morrison stood. When do we leave, sir? Now at dawn on the 17th, that departure is imminent. Weather has turned bad. Seas rough. The carrier pitches 20 feet with each wave. Conditions are terrible for launching heavy bombers from a short deck. Davis finds Jack on the flight deck. His face is grim. Weather is getting worse. We may have to scrub the mission. Jack looks at the gray sky, the angry sea, the bomber that has become his entire world. With respect, sir, we have come too far to turn back now. Davis studies him. You understand what you are volunteering for. This is likely one way. Jack nods. He understands perfectly. 4 months ago, he was home on leave when the news about Pearl Harbor came over the radio. He watched his father, a Great War veteran, cry for the first time. His father, who survived French trenches and German gas attacks, sat in their living room and wept at the newsreel footage of burning ships and dead sailors. His father said through tears, they hit us when we were not looking. Someone has to answer that. Jack decided that day. He would be part of the answer. Sir, someone has to go first. Might as well be us. Davis grips his shoulder. Good luck, Major. Give them hell. The bombers prepare for launch. Deck crews scramble to secure everything. The first bomber positions at the rear of the deck. Engines roar. Propellers blur into invisibility. The pilot receives the signal. Full throttle. The bomber thunders down the deck. It reaches the bow, drops toward the water. For a terrible moment, it looks like it will crash into the waves. Then impossibly, it claws back into the sky. The deck crew erupts in cheers. One by one, the bombers launch. Each one that makes it is a small miracle. Jack's turn comes. He climbs into the cockpit. His co-pilot, Lieutenant Tom Bradford from Tennessee, looks pale. This is insane, Bradford mutters. Jack starts the engines. Yep, now check the fuel gauges. They run through the checklist. Everything is ready. Everything is impossible. Jack thinks about his father, about Pearl Harbor, about the simple question, what kind of man stays home when his country needs him? The deck officer gives the signal. Jack releases the brakes. The bomber surges forward. The deck is a blur beneath them. Wind screams past the cockpit. The bow approaches with terrifying speed. Jack pulls back on the controls. The nose lifts. The wheels leave the deck. For 3 endless seconds, they drop toward the water. Then the engines bite into air and they climb. Bradford lets out a breath he has been holding. We are alive. For now, Jack says. 4 hours to Tokyo. They fly low over the Pacific. Radio silence. Formation loose. Each crew focused on navigation and fuel consumption. The bombers were modified to carry extra fuel tanks, stripped of every unnecessary pound. They have enough range to reach China. Barely, if nothing goes wrong, if winds cooperate, if they do not have to evade fighters or adjust course. 3 hours into the flight, they see the Japanese coast, mountains rising from the sea, green islands, fishing villages, no signs of alarm. The Japanese do not expect attack. Why would they? American bombers cannot reach Japan. Everyone knows this. Jack checks his watch, 12:15. He adjusts course toward Tokyo. Below, the city spreads out like a map. Factories, neighborhoods, the imperial palace with its distinctive moats and walls. Millions of people going about their day, unaware, unsuspecting. For a moment, Jack hesitates. He thinks about civilians down there, children, mothers, people who did not choose this war. Then he thinks about Pearl Harbor, about sailors burning in their ships, about his father's tears. He opens the bomb bay doors. Bradford reads out altitude and airspeed. The bombardier makes final calculations. Bombs away. The bomber lurches upward as 4 500-pound bombs fall toward the city below. Jack banks hard, full throttle, Behind them, explosions bloom like deadly flowers. Small fires, limited damage. But in a city that thought itself untouchable, the psychological impact is massive. Air raid sirens begin to wail. People run for shelters. Anti-aircraft guns open fire, but the bombers are already gone, streaking west. Toward China, toward survival if they are lucky, toward death if they are not. In the Imperial Palace, Admiral Yamada is meeting with naval staff when the sirens begin. Officers look confused, then alarmed. One rushes in from the communications room. "Admiral, American bombers over Tokyo." The room erupts in chaos. Impossible. Americans do not have the range. Where did they launch from? How many bombers? What targets? Yamada walks to the window, sees smoke rising from the harbor district. One small column. Two. Three. The physical damage is minimal. A few factories hit, some residential areas, nothing strategically significant. But Yamada knows the damage is not physical. It is psychological. It is political. And it is fatal. General Ishida bursts into the room. How is this possible? American aircraft cannot reach Japan. Yamada keeps his voice level. They launched from carriers. It is the only explanation. Ishida's face is purple with rage. Then we must destroy those carriers immediately. A decisive battle. Complete annihilation. Yamada feels something cold settle in his chest. Here it is. The moment he has dreaded. The moment foolish pride will force strategic mistakes. Yes, General, we must respond. But rushing into battle because of wounded pride is exactly how we will lose this war. Ishida steps close to Yamada. His voice drops to a dangerous whisper. You predicted defeat before the war even started. Perhaps your loyalty to Japan is not as strong as you claim. Yamada meets his eyes. My loyalty is to the Emperor, not to your foolish pride. Now excuse me, I have a battle to plan. After Ishida leaves, Watanabe approaches his admiral. Sir, the general is dangerous. He could make accusations. Let him, Yamada says quietly. The Americans just proved me right. That is more dangerous than any accusation. That night, Yamada writes in his diary. The entry is brief, fatalistic. The words of a man who has seen the future and cannot prevent it. April 18, 1942. The Americans bombed Tokyo today. Physical damage is negligible. Psychological damage is catastrophic. Tokyo will demand immediate retaliation. Political pressure will force us to rush the Midway operation. We will make mistakes, and mistakes in naval warfare are paid for in blood and burning ships. They just won the war with 16 bombers, and they do not even know it yet. While Yamada writes his diary in Tokyo, Jack Morrison is running out of fuel over eastern China. 4 hours after the Tokyo bombing, night falling fast, fuel gauges reading empty, no radio contact with Chinese forces, no lights below to indicate airfields. Just darkness and mountains, and the knowledge that the bomber cannot stay airborne much longer. Engines begin to sputter. The starboard engine coughs, dies. The bomber lurches to the left. Jack compensates, keeps them level. But the port engine is dying too. They are going down. Brace for crash landing. Jack's voice is calm, hands steady on the controls. This is it then. They made it to China. They bombed Tokyo. They did what they came to do. If they die now, at least they died doing something that mattered. The bomber hits hard. Nose plows into a rice paddy. Mud and water spray everywhere. The aircraft cartwheels. Metal screams. Something breaks. Someone yells. Then silence. Jack wakes hanging upside down from his harness. Blood runs down his forehead into his eyes. His head pounds, his ribs ache, but he is alive. He checks his crew. Bradford unconscious but breathing. Bombardier groaning. Gunner helping himself out through a broken window. Everyone survived. They crawl from the wreckage. Stand in the muddy rice paddy. The bomber behind them is destroyed. Tail broken. Wing crumpled. It will never fly again. But it did its job. It carried them to Tokyo and back. That is all anyone could ask. Chinese farmers approach cautiously from a nearby village. Old men, women, children. They speak rapidly in Chinese. Jack does not understand. He raises his hands, shows he is unarmed. American, American pilot. We bombed Japan. One old farmer steps forward, maybe 60 years old, weathered face, rough clothes. He speaks broken English, learned from missionaries decades ago. You American Jack nods. You bombed Japan. Yes, we bombed Tokyo. The farmer's face transforms. He smiles, then laughs, then cries. He shouts something to the other villagers. They erupt in cheers. They rush forward, not to attack, to embrace, to help. The farmer grabs Jack's hand. Thank you. Thank you. Japan kill many Chinese. You show them they not safe. You show them they can be hurt. The villagers take Jack and his crew to the village. The local doctor trained by American missionaries treats their injuries. Nothing serious, cuts, bruises, one possible concussion. They will live. The village elder speaks through a translator. Japanese army is searching for American pilots. They will kill any village that helps you. But you are our guests. We will protect you. Jack tries to argue. You could die for helping us. The elder's face is serene. Many of us have died already. My son, my brother. Japanese soldiers take our food, kill our people. You have shown them they are not invincible. This is worth any risk. Over the next 2 weeks, the villagers move Jack and his crew at night, hiding them in barns, false cellars, underground tunnels, moving them slowly toward Free China territory. The villagers share what little food they have: rice, vegetables, occasionally a chicken that represents a week's worth of protein. One evening, Jack shares his emergency chocolate ration with village children. They have never tasted chocolate. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, takes a small bite. Her eyes go wide with wonder. She carefully breaks off a piece and runs to her mother to share. Jack watches this and something shifts inside him. These people have nothing. The Japanese have taken everything. Yet they share their rice with American strangers. They risk death to protect pilots they have never met. They give their children's chocolate to their mothers. He thinks about Admiral Yamada somewhere in Japan, planning the next battle. He wonders if Yamada knows what his country has done to these villages, if he understands the cost of empire, if he cares. The cost comes due on a night in early May. Japanese patrol arrives at the village. They have been tracking rumors of American pilots. Villagers hide Jack and his crew in a false cellar beneath the elder's house. Through gaps in the floorboards, Jack can hear everything. The Japanese officer's voice is harsh, demanding, "Where are the Americans?" The elder's voice is calm, steady. "There are no Americans here, only farmers. You lie. We found parachute fabric 2 miles from here. Wind carries many things. I know nothing of Americans." The sound of the elder being struck, hitting the ground hard. Villagers gasp. Someone cries out, "Last chance. Where are the Americans I told you?" "I know nothing." A gunshot, loud in the small space of the house. Then women screaming, children crying, the Japanese officer giving orders. "Let this village remember, helping Americans means death." In the cellar, Jack lunges forward. His crew grabs him, hands over his mouth, holding him back. If he reveals himself now, everyone dies. The elder's sacrifice becomes meaningless. After the patrol leaves, they wait. 2 hours, 3. Finally, the remaining villagers open the cellar. Jack emerges to find the elder's wife kneeling beside her husband's body. She is not crying. She is beyond tears, just sitting, holding his hand. Jack approaches. He wants to apologize, to explain, to make it mean something. But what words exist for this? What possible explanation justifies an old man dying to protect strangers? The widow looks up at him. Her face is wet, but her expression is gentle. She touches Jack's cheek and says something in Chinese. The translator voice shaking translates. She says, "Do not waste his sacrifice. Go home. Win this war. Show the world what kindness looks like." Jack kneels beside the body. He does not know Chinese customs, does not know the proper way to show respect. So he does the only thing he can think of. He removes his dog tags, presses them into the widow's hand. So she has something American, something to remember that her husband died protecting men who mattered. That night, moving through darkness toward the next safe house, Jack writes a letter he will never send, writing it anyway, trying to make sense of what happened. "Dad, you asked if the mission was worth it. I don't know how to answer that. We dropped bombs that did minimal damage, But we also show Japan that America can strike back. And that matters. I think. I hope. But I can tell you what it cost. A Chinese village elder died today because he would not betray us. He knew the Japanese would kill him. He did it anyway. His wife told me not to waste his sacrifice, to show the world what kindness looks like. I am trying, Dad. I am trying to understand why good men die for causes that are not their own. Why farmers risk everything to protect pilots that they just met. Why an old woman can forgive the men whose bombs drew the patrol that killed her husband. Maybe that is what we are fighting for. Not territory, not resources, but the idea that kindness matters, that protecting strangers is worth dying for, that some things are bigger than any one person. I hope that is true, because if it is not, then that old man died for nothing, and I cannot accept that. While Jack Morrison mourns in China, Admiral Yamada prepares for battle off Midway. It is June 3, 1942, almost exactly 1 month after the Doolittle raid. Tokyo has been demanding action, revenge, a decisive blow to restore Japanese prestige. The Midway operation is that blow. At least that is the plan. Yamada stands on the bridge of the Yamato, reviewing the battle plan for the 100th time. On paper, it is elegant. 4 fleet carriers will strike Midway Island, destroy American air defenses, lure any remaining American carriers into a trap. Battleships will finish them off. It is Pearl Harbor Redux. Overwhelming force. Surprise. Decisive victory. But Yamada sees the flaws. The operation is too complex. Forces divided between Midway and a diversionary attack on the Aleutian Islands. Intelligence reports are contradictory. Some analysts believe the Americans have broken Japanese codes, that they know Midway is the target, that they are waiting. Watanabe brings more troubling news. Sir, naval intelligence suggests American carriers may be in the area, more than our estimates predicted. How many? Possibly 3, sir. Yamada absorbs this. 3 carriers, against his 4, better odds than expected. But if the Americans know the plan, if they are waiting in ambush, then numbers matter less than surprise. And Japan has lost surprise. Should we recommend a delay? Sir Yamada looks at the message from Tokyo. Urgent, demanding. The political situation at home is delicate. The public wants revenge for the American raid. General Ishida and his allies question naval competence. Delay now would be seen as cowardice. Failure of will. No. We proceed, but prepare for surprises. That night, Yamada writes what may be his final diary entry before battle. June 3, 1942. Tomorrow we engage the Americans at Midway, and intelligence suggests they are waiting for us. But political pressure leaves no choice. If I delay, Tokyo will remove me from command. If I proceed, I may be sailing into a trap. This is what happens when product drives strategy, when political considerations override military judgment, when men who have never seen battle demand victories they cannot understand. I think of my time at Harvard, of Tommy Henderson and his bacon breakfast, of his father's farm in Kansas, of Americans who believe freedom is worth defending. Tomorrow I will try to kill men like them, men who only want to live in peace, men who offered me friendship when I was a stranger in their land. This is the tragedy of war. Good men ordered to kill other good men because old men made stupid decisions. If I die tomorrow, know that I tried. I warned them. I begged them not to pursue this course. They did not listen. Now we will all pay the price of their pride. He seals the diary in a waterproof case, gives it to Watanabe with instructions. If the flagship is lost, save this. Someday someone should know the truth. The next morning, June 4th, the battle begins. June 4th, 1942. Dawn breaks over the Pacific near Midway Atoll. Admiral Yamada's 4 carriers steam toward their target in a box formation. Akagi, his flagship. Kaga, Soryu, Hiryu. The pride of the Imperial Japanese Navy. Between them, they carry nearly 300 aircraft, experienced pilots, battle-tested crews, everything needed for overwhelming victory. The first strike launches at 4:30 in the morning. Over 100 aircraft roar from the carrier decks. Fighters, dive bombers, torpedo planes. They head toward Midway Island to destroy American air defenses, clear the way for invasion forces. The operation is proceeding according to plan. On the bridge of the Akagi Yamada, watches his aircraft disappear into the gray dawn. Watanabe stands beside him with updated intelligence reports. Sir, the first wave reports heavier defenses than expected. They are requesting a second strike against Midway. Yamada considers this. A second strike means rearming aircraft with bombs for land targets. Time-consuming, the carriers will be vulnerable during the process. But if Midway's defenses are stronger than anticipated, a second strike may be necessary. He is about to give the order when radar operators report contacts. Aircraft approaching from Midway. American planes, scramble fighters, defend the fleet. Japanese Zero fighters launch. They intercept the American aircraft at high altitude. What follows is a massacre. The Americans are flying TBD Devastator torpedo bombers. Slow, poorly armored. No fighter escort. The Zeros tear through them like wolves among sheep. Within minutes, nearly every American plane is shot down, pilots screaming on radios, aircraft tumbling into the sea, oil slicks and debris marking where brave men died. On the Akagi Bridge, officers cheer. The Americans are desperate, sending their planes to dust in suicidal attacks. This will be easier than expected, but Yamada does not cheer. Something feels wrong. He watches the carnage through binoculars, counts the American planes, too few. Where are the American carriers? Where are their dive bombers? Why send torpedo planes alone? Watanabe, where are the American carriers? Unknown. Sir, scout planes have not located them. Keep searching. They are out there somewhere. At that moment, more reports arrive. American torpedo bombers approaching from different angle. Another squadron, also without fighter escort. Also flying low and slow. Again, the Zeros intercept. Again, slaughter. American planes exploding. Crashing, burning. Pilots dying in the cold Pacific without ever reaching their targets. Admiral Nagumo, commanding the carrier force, orders the second strike against Midway. Deck crews scramble. Aircraft in the hangars are being armed with torpedoes for ship attack based on the scout plane reports. Now those torpedoes must be removed. Bombs for land targets loaded instead. It is a time-consuming process. Dangerous. The hangar decks fill with ordnance. Fuel lines snake across the flight decks. Aviation gas pools in places where it should not be. Yamada watches this chaos and feels ice in his stomach. The carriers are vulnerable. Decks cluttered. Aircraft being rearmed. If the American carriers are nearby, if they launch now, this is the moment of maximum danger. Sir, another report. A scout plane has spotted American carriers. 2 carriers. Positioned northeast of our fleet. Only 2. We have 4. Yes, sir. We outnumber them. Then why do I feel like we are walking into a trap? He orders the rearming process stopped. Switch back to torpedoes. Prepare for ship attack. But the order comes too late. The deck crews are in the middle of the changeover. Bombs and torpedoes mixed together. Fuel lines still connected. Aircraft crowded on the decks waiting to launch. It is 10:24 in the morning when the lookout screams. Dive bombers. High angle. Yamada looks up. The sky is full of American SBD Dauntless dive bombers. They are already in their attack dives. Plunging down from 14,000 feet, 30 dive bombers. Maybe more. And the Japanese fighters are all at low altitude, chasing the torpedo bombers. The sky is empty of defenders. Time slows. Yamada watches the first bombs fall, watches them grow larger, watches them impact his flagship. The first bomb hits near the forward elevator. The explosion is massive. Fuel ignites. Then the torpedoes stacked on deck. Then the bombs waiting to be loaded. Chain reaction. Secondary explosions. Within seconds, the Akagi is transformed from a warship into an inferno. Yamada is thrown across the bridge. His head strikes metal. Blood in his eyes. Watanabe pulls him toward the exit, but Yamada resists. The Emperor's portrait. We cannot leave it. Sir, the ship is dying. I do not care. Get the portrait. While they struggle with the heavy-framed portrait, more explosions shake the carrier. Through the smoke, Yamada can see the other carriers. Kaga is burning. A bomb penetrated her flight deck. Her hangar is full of armed aircraft and aviation fuel. The entire ship is consumed in flames. Soryu is hit. 3 bombs in rapid succession. Her back broken. Already listing. Hiryu farther away is still untouched. But 3 of 4 carriers are dying, all within 5 minutes. They evacuate the Akagi. Scramble down ladders, through passageways filling with smoke, deck crew and pilots and officers all fleeing the spreading fires. Behind them the carrier groans, metal warping from heat, ammunition cooking off in continuous explosions. A destroyer comes alongside, takes off survivors. Yamada is the last to leave his flagship. He stands on the destroyer's deck watching the Akagi burn, watching his battle plan die, watching the war that he predicted turn into the disaster he warned about. Watanabe brings casualty reports. His voice shakes. All 3 carriers lost, sir. Hiryu still operational, but alone. Estimated 300 pilots dead. Irreplaceable. Yamada says nothing for a long moment. Then quietly, almost to himself, he speaks. 18 months. I told him 18 months. Sir Yamada pulls his diary from his jacket, opens it to an entry from December 1940, reads his own words written 18 months ago. If Japan attacks America, we will have 18 months to win the war. After that, their production will crush us. He looks at the date, June 4th, 1942, exactly 18 months since he wrote that prediction. I gave them 18 months. Today, those 18 months ended. The battle continues. Hiryu launches a counterstrike, damages the American carrier Yorktown. But by afternoon, American dive bombers find Hiryu too. More bombs, more fires. By evening, all 4 of Japan's fleet carriers are burning or sunk. The core of naval aviation built over a decade destroyed in a single day. That night on a cruiser that serves as his temporary flagship, Yamada writes another diary entry. His hand shakes, not from fear, from exhaustion, from the weight of being right when everyone else was wrong. June 4th, 1942. 4 carriers lost. 300 pilots dead. The heart of our naval power torn out. Everything I warned about has happened. Everything I predicted has come true. And knowing I was right brings no satisfaction, only grief. The Americans won today not through superior tactics, but through our mistakes. We rushed this operation, divided our forces, underestimated our enemy. All the errors I warned against we committed. But the greater error was made 2 years ago when we chose pride over wisdom, when we ignored warnings and embraced conquest, when we believed that will could overcome industrial reality. Now we will pay the price. Not quickly. The Americans will not accept surrender until Japan is broken. So the war will continue. More young men will die. More cities will burn. All because old men made foolish decisions. I am tired, so very tired. I will continue to serve. Will do my duty, but I no longer believe we can win. The best I can hope for is to minimize the catastrophe. News of Midway reaches Tokyo slowly. The Navy Ministry minimizes the defeat. Reports speak of tactical withdrawals and regrettable losses, but suggest the overall strategic situation remains favorable. Only the highest-ranking officers know the truth. 4 fleet carriers gone. Japan's offensive capability shattered. The war entering a new phase. Defense, attrition, slow retreat across the Pacific. In Washington, the news is celebrated. President Roosevelt receives the report from Admiral Chester Blake, the fictional Nimitz equivalent, architect of the Midway victory. Mr. President, our forces have achieved a significant victory. 4 Japanese carriers confirmed sunk. Their naval aviation severely degraded. Roosevelt allows himself a rare smile. Does this mean we are winning? Admiral Blake hesitates. No, sir. It means we have stopped losing. That is very different. What do you recommend? We must maintain momentum. The Japanese will try to regroup. We need to seize the initiative, keep them off balance, force them to react instead of act. Blake unfolds a map of the South Pacific, points to a small island in the Solomon chain. Our intelligence indicates the Japanese are building an airfield here. Guadalcanal. If they complete it, they can threaten our supply lines to Australia, cut off our Pacific operations at the route. I recommend we take that airfield before they finish it. Roosevelt studies the map. How soon, August? Maybe sooner. That is very soon, Admiral. Are we ready? Blake's expression is grim. No, sir. But if we wait until we are ready, the opportunity will be gone. July 1942. Marine Training Camp. Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. The heat is crushing. Humidity makes the air feel like soup. Drill instructors scream at recruits who look like they might collapse. Private Mike Sullivan stands at attention in the brutal sun. 19 years old. Actually 18, but he lied about his age to enlist. Farm boy from Iowa. Grew up milking cows and baling hay and driving tractors through endless cornfields. Never saw the ocean before joining the Marines. Never fired a rifle before boot camp. Never been away from home for more than a weekend. The drill instructor, a corporal named Eddie Santos, paces in front of the platoon. Santos is 28, looks 40. Wake Island survivor. One of the few Marines who escaped before the island fell to Japan. He has seen things these farm boys and city kids cannot imagine, and he is determined to prepare them for what is coming. You think you are tough, Santos screams. You think milking cows makes you a warrior? The Japanese have been fighting in China for 5 years. They are trained, they are experienced, they are willing to die for their emperor, and you are just boys playing soldier. Mike tries not to flinch, tries to stand straight, tries to look like a Marine instead of a scared kid from Iowa. Sullivan. Santos stops in front of him. Where are you from, Iowa, sir? Iowa. You ever been in a fight, Sullivan? No, sir. You ever shot at someone who is shooting back? No, sir. You ever gone 3 days without food while someone is trying to kill you? No, sir. Santos leans close. His breath smells like coffee and cigarettes. Then you are going to learn real quick, farm boy. Because where you are going, all of that happens at once. That night in the barracks, Mike writes a letter home to his mother. Dear Ma, training is hard, but I am keeping up. The food is not as good as yours, but there is plenty of it. We ship out next month. Somewhere in the Pacific. I cannot say where. Do not worry about me. I will be fine. I am with good men who know what they are doing. We will look out for each other. I love you and Pa. Tell little Sarah I will bring her something nice from wherever we end up. Your son, Mike. What he does not write is the truth, that he is terrified, that half the guys in his platoon are kids like him who have never been in a real fight, that the other half are veterans with dead eyes who wake up screaming in the night, that Santos told them yesterday that half of them probably will not survive the first month in combat. Santos finds Mike cleaning his rifle after lights out. Kid, you need something? Mike looks up. Just wanted to ask Corporal. What is it like combat? Santos sits on the bunk. Lights a cigarette, silent for a long moment. It is not like the movies, Sullivan. There are no heroes charging up hills. No glory, just mud and fear and trying not to die while doing what needs doing. You understand, and Mike nods. When we hit that beach, forget everything they taught you here. The enemy will be in trees you cannot see, in holes you did not know existed, everywhere and nowhere. You listening? Yes, Corporal. Good, because here is the only thing that matters. You keep the guy next to you alive. He keeps you alive. That is it. That is the whole war. Not flags, not medals, not any of that. Just you and the guy next to you trying to make it through another day. How do you do it, Corporal? How do you keep going? Santos takes a long drag on his cigarette. You just do. Because quitting means dying. And dying means letting down everyone who is counting on you. So you keep going, even when you want to stop. Even when you think you cannot take another step. You keep going. Mike absorbs this. Thanks, Corporal. Do not thank me yet, kid. Save that for after, if there is an after. August 7th, 1942. Dawn. USS Fuller transport ship approaches Guadalcanal. Mike stands on deck with thousands of other Marines. The island rises from the sea like something from a travel poster. Green mountains, white beaches, palm trees swaying in the breeze. It looks like paradise. Santos stands beside him, lights another cigarette. His hands are steady, but his eyes are hard. That is the trick, kid. Looks beautiful. Wait till you get inland. How bad will it be? Santos exhales smoke. Bad enough. The landing craft lower into the water. Marines climb down rope nets. Equipment heavy. Rifles wrapped in plastic to protect from seawater. Everyone quiet. Focused. Scared, but trying not to show it. Mike's landing craft circles with dozens of others, waiting for the signal. He looks at the faces around him. Boys from farms and cities, from every state in the Union, all of them wondering if they will see home again. The signal comes. Landing craft roar toward the beach. Spray soaks everyone. The beach grows closer. Mike grips his rifle. This is it. The moment all the training was for, the moment he has been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. The ramp drops. Santos yells, "Move, move, move." Mike runs into chest-deep water, struggles toward the beach, expects machine gun fire, mortar explosions, the deadly hail of lead that has killed so many soldiers hitting hostile beaches. Nothing. The beach is empty, silent, no enemy, no resistance. They reach the sand, form up, move inland, through the coastal jungle, toward the airfield that intelligence said was nearly complete. Still no contact, still no enemy. By afternoon, they have captured the airfield without firing a shot. Marines stand on the dirt runway confused. Where are the Japanese? Why did they not defend this? Some guys start to relax, make jokes. Maybe the Japanese ran away. Maybe this will be easy. Santos knows better. Kid, they are watching us right now. Waiting, learning. Tonight they will come. Mike wants to believe this will be easy, wants to think they can take the island without serious fighting. But he trusts Santos. If Santos says they are waiting, then they are waiting. That evening, Marines dig foxholes around the airfield perimeter, set up machine gun positions, string barbed wire, prepare defensive positions. Officers distribute ammunition, set watch schedules, establish fields of fire. Mike shares a foxhole with another private. Robert Chen, Chinese-American kid from Los Angeles. His parents run a restaurant in Chinatown. He joined the Marines to fight the Japanese who are destroying China, who killed his cousins in Nanking. They open their ration packs. Pound cake, coffee, chocolate, canned meat. More food than many of them ate in a day back home during the Depression. They share the pound cake, argue good-naturedly about whether California or Iowa has better weather. For a moment, it feels almost normal. Just American kids being American kids, talking about home, about girls, about what they will do after the war, as if the war is some temporary inconvenience instead of the defining experience of their generation. Santos walks the perimeter, checks each position, stops at Mike's foxhole. "You boys get some sleep. I will take first watch." "Corporal, how long will they wait?" Santos looks at the dark jungle beyond the perimeter. Not long, they are out there now, watching, planning. When they come, it will be fast, and it will be brutal. So get rest while you can. Mike tries to sleep, lies in the bottom of the foxhole, listens to the jungle sounds, insects, birds, things moving in the undergrowth. Every sound could be enemy soldiers. Every shadow could be death approaching. He thinks about home, about his mother's kitchen, the smell of bread baking, his father working in the fields, his little sister chasing chickens in the yard. Simple things, good things, things that seem impossibly far away now. At 2 in the morning, Santos shakes him awake. They are coming. Get ready. Mike grabs his rifle, peers over the edge of the foxhole. At first he hears nothing, then gradually sounds emerge from the darkness. Rustling, whispers in Japanese, the metallic click of weapons being readied. They are out there, close, very close. Santos whispers to the machine gun crew, "Wait for my signal. Make every shot count." The sounds grow louder, movement in the jungle, many men moving together. Then a scream in Japanese. A battle cry in the jungle explodes with enemy soldiers. Muzzle flashes light up the darkness. Machine guns roar. Grenades detonate with earth-shaking force. Japanese soldiers charge the perimeter. Some make it to the wire. Some dive in the barbed wire. Some break through and hand-to-hand fighting erupts. Mike fires his rifle. Again. Again. Cannot see targets clearly. Just shadows and muzzle flashes. Just the chaos of close combat at night. Someone screams, American or Japanese, impossible to tell. A Japanese soldier appears at the edge of the foxhole. Mike fires point blank. The man falls backward. Mike stares at the body. His first kill. It does not feel like the movies. It feels sick and necessary and horrible all at once. The attack lasts 20 minutes. Feels like hours. When it ends, the Japanese withdraw into the jungle. Leave their dead behind. American casualties are moderate. 5 dead, 12 wounded. Could have been worse. Should have been worse. Mike sits in his foxhole shaking. Cannot stop. His hands tremble. His breath comes in gasps. Santos appears beside him. First time Mike can only nod. It gets easier, not better, but easier. You did good, kid. You kept your head, kept fighting. That is all anyone can ask. But Mike does not feel like he did good. He feels like he barely survived, like he got lucky, like next time luck might run out. Santos seems to read his mind. Listen to me, Sullivan. Every man who survives combat survives partly through skill and partly through luck. You cannot control the luck. You can only control the skill. So you train, you learn, you get better, and you trust the guys around you to do the same. Mike looks at the dead Japanese soldiers scattered beyond the wire, at the American bodies being carried to the aid station, at the jungle that hides who knows how many more enemies. This is going to be a long war, is it not? Corporal Santos lights a cigarette. Longer than anyone wants to admit, kid. Longer than anyone wants to admit. As dawn breaks over Guadalcanal, Mike pulls out his diary, writes a single entry with shaking hands. August 7th, 1942. We landed today. Took the airfield. No fighting. Guys thought it would be easy. Then night came. They attacked. We held. But this is just the beginning. I can feel it. This island is going to be hell. And we are going to be here a long time. He closes the diary, loads a fresh magazine into his rifle, prepares for another day, another night, however many it takes. Because Santos is right, you just keep going, even when you want to stop, even when you think you cannot take another step. You keep going, because that is what Marines do. That is what Americans do. And somewhere thousands of miles away, Admiral Yamada is receiving reports about Guadalcanal, about American forces landing, about the beginning of a grinding campaign that will cost thousands of lives on both sides. He reads the reports and thinks about the Chinese elder who died protecting American pilots, about the village that paid the price for showing kindness, about the long road of suffering that stretches ahead for both nations. He writes in his diary one more time, the Americans have landed on Guadalcanal. Now the real war begins, not the war of carriers and aircraft, but the war of mud and endurance, and who can outlast whom. Japan has never fought this kind of war. America has. And I fear we are about to learn a very hard lesson about what happens when you fight an enemy that refuses to quit.